Hello, flat earth researchers, debaters and debunkers. I'm in the UK at the moment. Just collecting my notes. 1 minute. So, been here a few weeks, it's been very busy, and now I've got a few minutes spare to catch up with you all and see what's what. I had some notes with me just now. Hang on a sec. What do I do with my notes? No way. Who have we got there? Oh, hi, Blood. All right, mate. Okay, hi. What's that? One man, hello. Milky, hello. All right, good to see the usual crowd coming in, and as we're on a similar time zone, then hang on a sec. We can catch up. Yeah. Well, thanks. Yeah. A few years after this, my first attempt, I'm now kind of here in the UK with a couple of my kids, and we're just on a brief visit, but getting things going, just setting things up for the future. And so going back to Phuket on Sunday, traveling over the weekend. So it's been quite hectic. But that's by the by. That's not really what I'm here to talk about. So yes, I'm here in the UK. I've just been really busy, just keeping up with work. So and other family stuff. So it's been I had in my mind that I would meet up with a bunch of you, or maybe we could even organise some kind of gathering. But it's already in our last week, and we've still got other stuff to do. So one man's asked me, what do I do for work? I'm a writer, an editor. I work with various people. I'm a freelancer. But I've got some steady clients, and I've got some that come and go. I'm helping out with headhunters and various organisations. Some are startups, some are well-established businesses. Just been doing some press releases for people like Electrolux and stuff like that. I've got some website clients as well that I take care of. And I build their websites. I use WordPress, and what else? With the Elephant Sanctuary as well. Just working with those guys, and tourism's been dead in Phuket, but it's now picking up again. Finally, just as I came here on October the 1st, they've just now officially ended the face mask things, and you can go to Thailand without any of it's just back to normal now. You don't have to jump through any hoops. There are no requirements for any tests and things like that. So it's movement between here and Thailand has become a lot easier now. I've been here a month. Yeah, true. The laws have changed in Thailand. I think actually what's happened with Thailand is that they've because of the damage done by COVID. And I'm also hearing now the kind of things that we predicted. I remember talking about this. So they've turned Thailand into a kind of like an Amsterdam of the East. Making it more attractive in that way to go and visit. I think that's what they're using as a draw card. Of course, the Tourism Association isn't advertising that kind of thing at all, but they know that word gets round. And just as you know that you can go to Amsterdam and have a puff in a place, a designated place, and you can do the same in Thailand now. Yeah, but it's certainly not a business I would get into, because even if you're running a restaurant or a bar or something, there are so many things that can change overnight, and you suddenly find yourself, up against the wall or closing down. And yeah, so. But what I was going to say is what I've seen happening here in the UK, or I've heard about, where I was in Portishead before. I'm not there now, but I've heard that there's a long-standing pub that was there. They closed down during the whole COVID thing, and of course, one thing a lot of us were talking about or predicting was that these small businesses being forced to close while the larger businesses are okay to stay open means that they will eventually be pushed out of business. They'll go bankrupt. They had to take out loans, and it basically crippled them. And of course, now these smaller places are being taken over by the big guys. So, we know this whole thing was a transfer of wealth and a coup to control for large companies that could survive such a crisis, and take over the smaller ones by putting them out of business. So. That's that. What's that? Planet Earth. We'll see how long the lack of hoop jumping will last. I think a lot of people have learned their lessons. A lot of countries have learned their lessons. I mean, what's happening in the UK now, as far as I can see, is they're talking about having to the taxpayer having to fork out loads for this. The UK's commitment to climate change, whatever that is, just pumping loads of money into a whole new industry that's been created. I think that's what has become very apparent, and this goes for the whole space thing as well. All of that, we have this continual creation of new industries, and I'm sure the no, what is it? These oil protesters. That is just a political agenda to. As a precursor to bringing in some changes, and it's all related to, of course, climate change, the guilt factor. So that's why these political activists are able to get away with it. And you know what? I'm thinking back to some of the people I've met in the past, in relation to this whole flat Earth thing, because within our, for want of a better word, community, we've got people that are active, and they have strong opinions, or they'll put their voice out there. And so these are the kind of people, just like the previous prime minister that was once an activist. They get recruited by political persuasion groups, and there's this hidden hand overseeing a lot of these things and these people, and we all know that people don't usually get into power unless there's something on them. They've been put into a compromising position. I mean, talking about these people protesting and holding up traffic and stuff. I mean, if they wanted to really make a difference, if they wanted to do something, then surely the best action you could take is to come up with alternatives and push those alternatives. Yeah, rather than just so what answers have you got? If you're going to protest against oil use, well, what answers have you got to that? What solutions are you providing? If you're just being antagonistic because you've been caught up in some kind of political agenda, then well, that's not offering up any solutions for any. It's not solving anything. It's not making any progress whatsoever, is it? And that's what a lot of the tactics we see. We just stalling tactics, yeah. So, oops, I got just have a look through the chat. So, yeah, one man, yeah, man of all trades. It's just I've always loved writing, and that's kind of what I do, and It's also, when you write, you observe things, and you try to work things out and put them into words. So that's always been part of what I enjoy doing. Yeah. Yeah, the tie. Oh, the tie stick is back. Yes, it's funny. There's an influx of all sorts of strains now. Yeah, you're right, one man. With the large supermarkets, exactly that. It's these business models, and of course, people, for example, there's two supermarkets here. There's a Tesco and a Sainsbury's, whatever. But the Tesco, of course, they get you to do their discount card, and then you go to the petrol station there, and you get points, and then they want to give you car insurance and this and that, and this is how the creepy control entire lives. You become dependent on them because you think you're saving money, you think you're getting a deal by signing up with them and getting their products and things. So in that sense, they can all of a sudden they can be involved in every single aspect of your life, your financials, your insurance and whatever. So yeah. That's what one thing I do enjoy doing is with my work is actually working with independents and giving them a voice, with whatever with the writing, with the SEO and things like that. It's nice that's providing some kind of solution for people, keeping the big beast away. Hello, Zoo. All right, seen you on some other channels. Oh yeah, while I remember, it's worth going to see. What's his channel name now? Oh, I'll remember it in a minute. But I saw a brilliant video about the showing how the stars, the northern and southern hemispheres, as it were, of stars are just reflections of each other. Or the southern is a reflection or a mirror image of the northern stars. So really worth looking out for that. I'm sorry, mate. I've forgotten the name of your channel. I'll put a link in the description once I've done this video. But well worth looking into because this guy lives in Australia, so he's been looking at the stars there, and basically you can see a mirror image of the Southern Cross in the northern hemisphere. The same for me, the Ursula, is it I can't remember how you say Ursula Major, the kind of pan-shaped one. Here it looks like a pan, a saucepan with a handle. But as you travel down towards, for example, when I look at it from Phuket, it's at a completely different angle. The moon is as well. Now, if you wanted to just look at the moon and the stars and make proclamations about the shape of the Earth based on observations in different locations or latitudes, then actually what you'd end up with is if you would end up with a concave Earth if you were to take, for example, here when it's a half moon, the terminator line is a horizontal line, pretty much, yeah. But when I see the moon from Phuket, it's a horizontal line, yeah. So you'll have the bright side on the bottom and the shadow on the top, whereas here you've got the moon here and the terminator line. It's a vertical terminator line. But once you understand that we see the stars at different times of year, or we see different stars at different times of year, not because the Earth is moving or tilting or doing anything like that, or going around the sun. What we see is because the sun is doing its own path. So of course you don't see the stars when the sun is lighting up the sky. You only see the stars when it's dark. And of course, the duration of a day it's really kind of separate, isn't it? You've got to see these things as separate. That's part of the challenge. Is all these changes in the sky are attributed to one thing, and that's the Earth being a spinning globe and moving around and tilting. And of course, there are a bunch of explanations, but that's all they are. They're explanations, and it's very, very challenging to get people to discern between an explanation and measurable proof. The real physics or the measure of something like curvature and things like that, or the tilt or the acceleration or the drift that we should see, and all these other things. It's just, there's nothing about reality at all that would give us any hint that we're on a spinning spherical Earth. It's all down to assumptions and a model. It's all just a concept based on, again, everything we see. So, as long as you understand that the moon and the sun are doing their different thing, the stars are doing their different thing, however that works, whatever it is, are they projections or what have you. We just don't know. We don't know where they are or how far away they are really in relation to us and each other. Um, and it's unfathomable, really. Which kind of leads me on to what I wanted to mention, and this whole idea about reincarnation, souls that are in or within or without, not in a body or out of the body. And I'm sure that any of us who have this is part of the flat Earth realization is one of those steps on the journey, on the personal journey that we're having to try and work out what's going on. Who am I in this body, in this realm? And it doesn't matter how learned you are or what kind of spiritual guru you are. Nobody on this earth anywhere has any answers to where we are and how we got here and why. And perhaps, this idea that we leave the body and go to heaven or go to another realm is who knows? We don't know if there's any truth in that. Do you become enlightened the moment you leave this body as a spirit? Assuming that the spirit and the soul continues to live. And I think most of us would probably agree that there are enough hints and clues and even some kind of consensus, be it scientific or otherwise, as to that being a fact, that we are some kind of energetic entity in a body with a mind. And of course, this is what the Eastern philosophy is really telling you, or even any philosophy, even religious philosophy, or spiritual philosophy is trying to tell us about this. I suppose you could call it the Trinity. Maybe that's what they're referring to in the Bible. You've got your body, you've got the body and the mind. Yes, they are connected, but they are. It's funny, isn't it? They are intrinsically connected, but they can also separate them. And understand that there's a difference. And of course, the way we do that is by observing what's going on in the mind and how that translates or affects our thoughts and our speech and our actions and deeds. These are all in the mind, and it's funny, we have to own responsibility for those things that happen in our minds and the actions we take or the words we say because of it. We do that. That's part of this whole thing is the spiritual development, I suppose, is taking responsibility for the things you've done in your past. And of course, you can't stop them. You can't turn back time. And, you could ponder for ages whether we should feel guilty or punish ourselves for the things that we've done in the past. The thing is, we just cannot do anything about that. We can know that there is such a thing as karma. That is, you can never really predict you can't predict karma in the way that you can predict the balls on a Newton swing smashing and whatever, going backwards and forwards, in terms of that kind of predictable physics. But you can know from just observations of human nature, of people, of ourselves, that our thoughts, deeds, and actions and words create karma. That's our doing that then will reverberate, and it could be instant karma, or it could be something that happens later on. And yeah, I suppose you can try denying things forever and keep that barrier up, which I think is you see a lot of people doing until their very end days, because we do fear going to that place or acknowledging our so-called wrongdoings, the things that we've done wrong according to certain doctrines that are instilled in our culture and our upbringing. But apart from that, there is still, if you're forced into a situation or you're persuaded to do something that you're not comfortable with, there's something inside you that's creating that discomfort, right? So there's something other than our conditioning. It always comes back to us having to be responsible for what we believe and what we do. And this is how you arrive at the whole flat Earth realization that we're not on, or the globe lie realization. You realize that we've been bamboozled by all sorts of things, and the reasons for could be they have huge implications as well on and that's why there is so much resistance against it. So yeah, I think you don't have to be a guru or a spiritual teacher. You just have to be someone with life experience to realize and accept that there is something other than, there is that separation. There is a spirit, there is a soul that likely continues. It kind of like it's just a conclusion, but that you can arrive at from seeing everything from our experiences and other accounts. But do we become enlightened? Do we become any wiser? Does anything happen when we die? Do we just get transferred somewhere else? Is there a resting place? Is there a final place? Is there a final destination? And none of that is clear. No one can ever really tell you the truth about that. So the whole lost souls thing, I was thinking about the last time I was here. I went to the Thai temple in King's Bromley, and I met the head monk there, and they were having breakfast after their meditation session, and we were in the kitchen, and called me in and sat me down. Are we live again? Hello. Hope you haven't. Yeah. Where was I? Sorry, just before we got cut off. So, okay, there's evidence, understanding that there is a spiritual thing going on. So there are souls that we occupy the body and mind. And so I was talking to this monk the head monk at the Thai temple in King's Bromley last time, not this time, but I was reminded of our conversation because they were having their meal. And he asked where I was based in Thailand. I told him Phuket. And he said, they called me up to go to Phuket. They flew him to Phuket from the UK to basically do the ceremony, lead the ceremony for all the souls that had lost their lives on the beaches around there. And he said, there were loads of souls and they didn't know they died. This was the thing that struck me, that for these guys that are meditating every day, and they really are on that they've raised their vibration to be in touch with that realm that exists with us, or those frequencies, and they can see that. He said they were, that was their job. I mean, for Thais, it's a given, it's a fact of life that we exist among other spirits, and they can be animals, people, whatever, but that's not necessarily a belief. This is a guy talking about a Buddhist monk talking about his role to do the chanting and the meditation, which is all a very vibrational thing. They create, their chanting it creates this frequency. This is the secret, I think, of our existence, of the realm. Just like Tesla said, it's all about frequencies. This is the kind of realm that we're in. Even if you want to talk about the voice of God, we're talking about frequency. Yeah, we're talking about vibration. And so for them, they see the lost souls. So their job was to guide the souls to wherever they have to go next. there's not necessarily an assumption of where they go and what they do, but there is this knowing that you have people that have died and they didn't know they died. And so you have to have these ceremonies to create the whatever. Maybe it's a way of creating a conduit from this physical realm to that other realm. And so it makes me think about do we exist alongside many other lost souls? What about people who have died and they don't know they've died, or they do become maybe trapped in that realm, that frequency? Do they have to be guided? And does it make a difference if you've in your life evolved to a certain spiritual on your spiritual path or development to a certain frequency? Does that then better prepare you for finding your own way when you die? I was going to say if and when you die, but it's going to happen, right? This is the thing. Do we, how much time or energy should we devote to preparing our spirit, our soul for that death event? For the continuation, for progress, for going up another level? Is that the purpose of being here? We don't have a rule book, but one could certainly take that on board. But that doesn't mean that you spend your life being you can still celebrate the abundance of this place. And of course, that's one thing we're taught to think, that if in order to be spiritual, you have to, detach from all material things and what have you. Well, in a sense, yes, but ultimately, what happens is it's an emotional detachment from it, but it doesn't stop the need. But that need is fulfilled in a society such as a Buddhist society, where the monks are given their time and space to do their spiritual development and play their role in the community when it comes time to deaths and marriages and unification and these kinds of things. They have a role to play in a very important role in the fabric of society, and those roles are fulfilled and their needs are met by charity or whatever it is. Things just work out. You don't necessarily need an organized system for this to occur. And I think that's one stark thing I've noticed over here in the UK is you do have some wonderful health services and other things, and there's a lot of people. Everyone I've interacted with here is very kind, even from your shop assistants to whoever. Most people have a desire to have a good banter, some good communication, and there's a willingness to help others if they can, if they're made aware of it. These things all exist, and of course, caring people usually end up fulfilling caring roles in hospitals and things like that. But it's very much more structured here. Those carers, they are jobs. They are. You can argue about whether they're paid enough or not, but they are careers and they are jobs. And you do see across all aspects of this, you see, people that really, for the most part, want to do good. Yeah. And so I think no matter what kind of society you're in or what kind of background you have, you're probably always going to yearn for the thing that really is your soul, your soul's direction or path. You might make it some way along that path, and maybe you just get reincarnated to carry on, and who knows. But I think it's there are these intrinsic things, emotions and aspects of our being that will take us in the direction we're supposed to go, regardless of the type of technology or the societal structure we live in. We all have those opportunities, but do we get lost? Do we get lost as a soul out of the body, and do we sometimes just get lost in our body because we are being distracted by all the stuff that's going on, back to these kind of political events and the news and whatever that is propagated across all the mainstream media? Are these all deliberate distractions, or are they just, are they bigger versions of the kind of barriers that we would put up individually when we don't want to think about something, or we don't want to admit our mistakes and things like that? We can see ourselves. As long as we are observing ourselves, we can see that we do these things that it's easy to spot in other people, but often very difficult to spot in ourselves. And you could also spot those things, in those traits in the larger society. But and I think if you are on a mission to help people, and if you're kind of selfless about it, you still have to have some kind of savviness, but forces will come about to help you along the way as well. I think that's just the way it works, and it's magical. That's what makes this experience so magical and transformative in so many ways. So it's such a shame. I find it very frustrating trying to communicate with people. I mean, you know that a lot of the people that come along arguing the toss are doing so because they're holding on to a belief, and they're trying to protect a belief. But then you see a lot of fakery. You see all this kind of maneuvering and strategies to try and get one over on you, and you just want to say, no, this is not a competition. This is not about trying to prove anything. It's about helping discern between exactly what we're talking about, the things in and around us that affect us and can pollute our minds, and we can just be dragged off in the wrong direction by things. Yeah, let me just go through the chat there a minute. Jimbo, hello. Eclipses. Oh, really? Yeah, it's a full moon. Oh, yeah, it's full moon, isn't it? Full moon. It's been a full moon in Thailand, so they've celebrated Roi Katong today, where they put the banana tree floats and the candles and the incense on the water. So again, this harks back to this appreciation, recognition, celebration of the esoteric nature of something like the moon, and the way the seasons and the way everything works. This whole realm that is clearly designed to do that. It's the whole cyclical nature of it. It's and of course, a lot of cultures have they live like that. They've embraced that. Mark Swablick, hello. What's this? Oh, I have a bit of a Hebrew going on there. God will get out some new board games. Emerald Rider, hi. Forces, indeed, it is magical at times. We just have to relearn how to plug it. Oh, nicely put, my man. Thank you. Yeah. Hello, you Uncommon Sense. Okay, he doesn't know. He's just regurgitating. Okay, I'm not sure who you're talking to there about that. Okay, it's a Taurus moon, is it? Full Taurus moon. Okay, interesting. Okay. Cellular Earth reality. What map is the correct flat Earth map? No idea. This is the thing. This is, again, these kind of conversations that you have with the trolls, or just the globe, whatever you want to call them,
are often demands for an alternative explanation, and that's not the point. You have to understand that you've been given a whole bunch of explanations that don't make sense and don't conform to reality and are a complete distraction from the real reason, whatever it really is, that we are here, or how we are here and why we are here. And so nobody has the answers. Nobody has the answers to where we are, how it works, and that's what I was explaining earlier on. Is it doesn't matter what kind of spiritual guide or guru you listen to. It doesn't matter what books you read. It doesn't matter what teacher you know. You have great guides are good that have studied something and they've practiced something, but ultimately, every single one of us is our own guide. We have this intrinsic knowledge that is not a full blown knowledge. We don't know everything, but we know and we accept that we don't know everything, and so there are at least narrows down the possibilities or the reasons for why we're here and what we're doing here. And yes, it is very frightening to accept that, but that does, yeah, that's the thing. You know, the all the religions are offering up explanations and answers, and yes, they kind of there are a lot of truths in them, and there are a lot of there's a lot of practical advice as to how to lead your life and or how to learn from your experience, and what you can do to enhance that experience. But it doesn't necessarily mean that nobody's giving us any answers as to where we are, how big this place is, and what's beyond it. We just can't comprehend it. I mean, and it's really quite silly for us to try and assume that we know. But of course, you can get a qualification in astronomy, and you can, again, that those kind of, there's nothing wrong with that. There's obviously a fascination within us to learn and to try and find out where we are and what's going on beyond what we know. But at the same time, it's very, very difficult for us to approach it with with a free mind. That's the problem. Is you're taught to think and assume certain things exist in a certain way, and they do certain things, and they have a certain purpose. But we don't even know our own purpose. So how can we know the purpose of this entire place? Yeah, and that's what's so liberating. Really, you can laugh at it really now, can't you? Because because it's futile. It's apt to be arguing the toss about making claims about knowing what the right map. How can anyone verify that? Who's going to do that? Yeah, nobody. We've got people arguing about airplanes going from pole to pole, and it's just like, well, they're not going around a globe. They're not going in a straight line. They're just, and they do these things and they say these things, and these are held up as because you can go to two different poles, that's proof that we live on a globe. That is so. It's unfortunate because it's so single-minded and bigoted. But we also know at the same time that thought process or that belief has been put into our heads, into our minds, not necessarily into our heads. But I think all of us are just trying to help free people from that, and that's all we want. We don't want to. I certainly don't want to be coming up with alternatives and saying this is how it is, because I can't. I'd be foolish to pretend that I could. And but you see, it's probably more comforting to have an answer than it is to hold up your hands and say, I have no idea. I think the total surrender there is the not knowing, but there is also an acceptance that there is something to know and there is a purpose. But we can't necessarily do anything more than accept that. Melody, Z or Z. Yes, it seems have got lost in the body, and now we are discovering how to get back to our higher self. Yeah, yeah. I did meet someone the other day that was kind of still very excited about that, because that is the freedom that we're experiencing. We are free from these beliefs, and that allows you to then explore all the other gazillion infinite possibilities of the how and the why, rather than trying to narrow our focus on one. Yeah. Brickzot, we can make blueprint of a house or building. Wouldn't it be the same? Well, yeah, but I mean, the same for what? I mean, a blueprint of the of the what? Of the sky, and because we've never seen the Earth from outer space, we don't know where it is. We still, sure, you could for example, you can take a book and you can look all around this. This is an argument I've had with, for example, someone would say, you wouldn't argue with a heart surgeon about the workings of the heart. Well, why argue with a pilot about the spherical nature of the globe, Earth? So that's not the same. That's not the same, is it? Because, for example, if this was a heart or anything, that we'll just take it as a book. Yeah, we can look at this book. We can examine it closely. We can look inside. We understand the words. We can feel it. We can copy these dimensions. We can measure these dimensions. We can do the angles on the corners. We can do a whole bunch of things because this book exists, and we can manipulate it. We can hold it in our hands, just like a heart surgeon can do that on cadavers or real hearts, and they understand the body because we've got bodies galore to experiment on and do science with. Yeah. That's real science, and measuring this would be some kind of real science to say this is X centimeters or whatever across. Okay, and another thing, this brings me to another interesting point that you see, we know that you can measure this in centimeters, inches, or fractions of a mile, or whatever you want to do, and that's up to you. It doesn't change the physical nature of this book. It has a length, and you can measure it, and it will be different depending on what unit of measurement you use. Now, the thing is with nautical miles, is if you can imagine, this is a vast piece. Let's say this is a piece of the level Earth. Yeah. Well, it's got a certain distance across, so you can measure it in nautical miles if you want. So nautical miles were a concept that was brought up because then you have a number that you can easily divide into the degrees of a circle, 360 degrees. So it's, 1 degree is equal to 60 nautical miles. So that's the thing, being able to do that and then use the fragments of 60 and divide them up equally and to fill a circle. Of course, you've got the same thing with time. So, okay, you represent the Earth as a sphere. We already represent time as a circle. So now it's basically what you can do then is you can say this is you go across here, and this is not planned at all. But let's see if we can demonstrate this. Yeah. Here's a star. This pen represents a star, or the sun. Let's just call it the sun above the level Earth. Okay. So this has a ground point, and you know that if you're directly under the star, then you are at the ground point of that star. Okay. So of course, if you here's my little ship. Okay. My little ship here. Okay. And I'm looking at this star. Okay. But from my point of view, it's going to appear at a lower or higher distance depending on how far away it is from me. Nothing to do with the shape of the Earth. The Earth stays level, but you know that the closer you get, the closer you bring something across that plane, the higher in the sky it's going to appear. The further away you get, it's going to get lower. Okay, that's the declination. So they worked out that basically 1 degree of declination that you see across a distance can be 60 nautical miles. You travel 60 nautical miles, and you've got this. Well, now if you get closer to it, you're going to have this inclination. It's going to rise. Yeah. So every 60 nautical miles you travel is going to create 1 degree of up or down for the observed star. Yeah. That's perspective. Yeah. So moving across a level plane creates that. And so you've got nautical miles, which can then be converted into degrees. Yeah. And so really what happens is this piece here, this piece of land, let's say it is 60 nautical miles across, it's equivalent to 1 degree. So then you can draw a circle, and that circle can be any size you like. It doesn't matter, because now you're working in degrees, and you can say, okay, this length here is 60 nautical miles, and that's equivalent to a circle with a radius that's equivalent to the circumference of the equator, however many miles that is. I can't remember how many miles it's supposed to be. And that would be, you would have from the center of your circle, the arc created in that length. So this 60 nautical miles just becomes an arc length as part of that circle. And then it's just drawn as a circle. That's all it is. It's just physically, it's level. The observation we see is the declination of stars and things in the sky based on how far away we are from that ground point. And the funny thing is that you think about this: if you've got a star above your level Earth here, I'm giving you an orthographic view, by the way, but you've got a star and it's got a ground point. It's got a very definite ground point, obviously depending on the time. That's why the time's important, because it's only going to be at that ground point at a certain time, right? And you have to have some kind of time thing that it starts somewhere and stops somewhere. It can't be arbitrary time based on the location. It has to be a time based on a central or a location that's been decided upon. So what I was going to point out is the contradiction in the whole thing is that you've got a ground point for a star. But what they'll then say is, oh, but the light from the sun or the stars comes along in parallel lines. And so you could be here or you could be here, and they're telling you that the light is coming down from the same star in a parallel line. Well, that's completely goes against what you're talking about. If a star has a ground point, it only has one ground point. The ground point for this star doesn't suddenly become over here just by you assuming that the light travels in parallel lines from a light source that's much more massive than the Earth. Yeah, it doesn't fit. This is just one of these fractured explanations that doesn't actually fit, but it comes about because when you do the mathematics, you need a parallel line, you need a vertical line here, and you need a parallel vertical line to do your mathematics in order to more easily get your degrees per 60 nautical miles. Yeah, your degrees of declination. Because once you have two parallel lines, you can then do the angle in between them. Yeah, it just makes it easier for the mathematics. You can still do it for a level Earth. It's just a different. That you just take the declination as it is. The declination is like a dome above a level Earth, a dome of perspective. Yeah, with the angle changing for the observer depending on how far away they are from it. That's why perspective is the imaginary curve, because the dome of perspective that we can illustrate geometrically, because of declination that we observe, gets converted into a curved surface. Yeah, it's not. We just see, depending on where you are, you're going to see a certain distance across the sky, much further than you can see across a surface. So your point might be over here. Your ground point might be over here, but you can't see that far. You can only see this far across the surface, but your ground point's over there because it's above a star, but that star is going to appear closer to the horizon for you. Yeah. So yeah, it's just a case of being able to understand that. And this is the thing, I'm pretty sure that a lot of these especially some of these more intelligent and experienced globe Earth defenders know exactly what we're talking about, and if they have mathematical acumen, they do have the ability to see it another way and understand that you can use geometry and trigonometry and the same angles to play around with them and just pretend that a certain angle equates to a certain distance, and then you assume that distance. That's how you create the great circles. Yeah, a great circle is not. It's just assuming a circle that has the same circumference as the equator, but you're never actually traveling that distance. You're just traveling a short section. Again, you're just assuming that this area that you're traveling above on the Earth is just a segment, a small portion of a much longer Earth that you could imagine and wrap around in an illustration as a circle. Yeah, and as I said, you can draw the circle any size you want. I can take this and say, all right, this radius is whatever it is, 1,000, 6,000, 10,000 miles or nautical miles, and therefore the distance from the center, or the distance across here, depending on the angle that I'm doing, is going to be X amount. Yeah, I mean, this is just messing around. It's math magic. There's nothing wrong with the geometry that you can use, but we can measure this, and it's there, just as we can measure the book. Yeah, but you can draw a circle and imagine any size you like. But as long as once you've assumed a certain dimension or a certain radius, then all your angles and your distances are going to tie up, and it doesn't mean that they're a circle. It's just a way of illustrating them. Yeah. So I'm sure I'm probably overdoing it here. I'm sure you'll get it. It's just that I see so many. I'm spending so much time arguing with people about and trying to impress this very, very simple concept. Vortex Puppy explains it great. It's the great switcheroo. That's what it is. And he's got the math. It's there to see. It's quite simple. Cellular Earth reality. There should be a correct map. There is no. Oh gosh, yeah. I'm not even going to bother arguing. I've just explained. Yeah. Okay. What's that? Pamela, what's that? Pamela Pandecker. I can't read that properly. My glasses aren't so good. Things that work for me don't work for everyone. We are all in special need. Yeah. All in special need. Yeah, we are. Okay. Oh, is Del in here? Okay. Del, if you are here, Del, as I said, it's getting towards the end of my stay. I was hoping we could catch up, but I don't know how possible that's going to be now. Transport and funding is limited. So, what's that, Emerald Rider? Learning life skills and discerning the subjective from objective it's really quite simple. Yeah, that's it, isn't it? It's simple for us, but I actually was. It's amazing how locked in you really have to be open to it. You do. We've all got here because we tried to find our way. The body knows what it needs, Emerald. Yeah. Okay. All right. Brick suit. Okay. Oh man, a lot of chats going on here. Okay. Okay. What's Del saying there? Cellular Earth has merit, as in the level is encapsulated by some kind of sphere, but stuck to the inner walls is just as ridiculous. Absolutely. Yeah, I totally agree there, Del. It would be. Yeah. We. Who knows? And it appears we could be encapsulated in something, and there are whatever kind of firmament or who knows. I don't necessarily consider it as a dome. We could all have, each one of us could have an idea and because of something we've seen. You might have looked at some kind of crystal pyramid and thought, oh, well, that, okay, I can see how that would match up with, yeah, I can imagine it as being a pyramid or a dome or just a sandwich. There are a million ways we could see it, but that's the thing. It's obviously very intelligently designed, and so is everything here. And that's the thing. We, back to that point. Are we being constantly distracted? Are we being deliberately led astray, or do we do it to ourselves because we are so afraid of finding out the truth of why we're here and who we are? Or can we find it out? Is that possible to know? Again, I think we can certainly get a really good understanding. And once you are free from all these distractions and all these cultural influences, then we can be free, and you can certainly get more grounding. You feel more grounded. You feel more, that you don't have these well, you just see that it's like watching a comedy show, and it's not very funny either. And you just see the whole world almost being distracted by absolute nonsense that really has, even if people are getting wealthy, so what? I don't care. If again, there's no need to be jealous of someone making a lot of money. They all have their purpose, and whether our existence is anyway akin to what someone else is doing is irrelevant, because you or I are on a journey that is going to bring us to somewhere that is so much more educational and informative than anything else any external sources can provide us with, or official sources of information or knowledge. Yeah. So everyone's on their own journey. I mean, the previous, what was it? The previous Prime Minister, I can't remember, the lady that lasted, the UK lady that lasted a few weeks. She's having her journey, and so is Rishi, whatever his name is, and so is Boris, and they're doing their thing, and they're, whether they'll at least there is this. I think one thing I've realized about the UK is that it will always be kind of fairly stable. I think that there's no need to worry too much about it going down the pan, because it's like, these politicians and all the stuff they do, and all the fear mongering about taxes and floods and what have you, and things closing down. It's just that. It's just fear mongering. But it's like, you see how these guys are appointed. They belong to someone else. It's not their government, and it's not really our government. It's that's an illusion. It's someone else's government. It's just like a prime minister or a president is just the CEO of a corporation, and that corporation it makes money, and it uses the employees, us, the society, the people, to make money, and that's their job, is to continue to supply the coffers. But really, ultimately, we know that the money doesn't mean anything really. It's still, that's just like slush funds going on. The real wealth is obviously in the control that people like, or organizations that like the banks and the entire countries have, based on their perceived property and things like that. So I'm going to turn the light on a minute. Yeah. So again, it's, so what? It shouldn't be a concern whether, obviously it should be a concern that people are suffering because they don't have access to things that they should have in a normal society, that we can look after each other. And personally, I'd love to just do something where I wish I could. I think here it's cold. It's really, really cold, and I just stand outside the back door, and it's wet and windy, and it's cold, and I'm wearing, I've got a coat and gloves and hat, and I'm thinking, oh my God, what about those people that are on the street? What are we giving them as a society, as a caring, advanced, progressive society? What are we doing? I mean, is there a place to house the homeless? Really? I mean, there should be. Surely there should be. That shouldn't be just churches and the odd institution or person who manages to, you know, do something. I've just been thinking about that recently. I've been thinking I would, how could I do something like that where you where you because you got it if I'm sure if you start these things off, if you find a way, this is the wonderful thing about where we are, the energetic experience we're having. If you dedicate your energy, and that's the one thing, anything's possible, right? If you have ideas and you follow that idea and you pursue it and you do what you can and you do it single-mindedly, then you can achieve it. You can achieve whatever you want if you put your mind to it. All these books and things about self-help, it's really just becoming single-minded about something. At the same time, you'll often have to something else gets left behind, right? I mean, it's difficult to give your family, whether you've got a wife and children or even parents. Everyone's got parents or did have, to it's difficult to achieve a balance, right? It's very difficult to have immense wealth and be totally dedicated to your family. In fact, I'd say it's probably impossible to do so. It's always going to be a tipping thing, isn't it? One's going to override the other. So our problem, of course, is that we put too much emphasis on the monetary value, or we even give money value, or a value that's the thing. There's, do you see what I'm trying to say? There are different kinds of value, but at the same time, there shouldn't be. And there shouldn't be really so much value on money, but it's more value on the experience and the sharing that we can do, and making resources and things available. But I think ultimately, yeah, it does come down to I see even the wealthy people, even wealthy people that want to make a difference, they can't just throw their money around, right? They have to do something. And they have to be very involved in the process of doing good. Yeah. And so I see this a lot, and that's the thing, charities, so-called charities, often take advantage of that, and we become the lazy primate again. I've often referenced this, where primates will, you might have primates in a cage and be looking after them, and then set them free to go and fend for themselves, but they'll always come back to where it's easy to get food. And we're the same, and we'll often give to charity because it's easy. Someone's given us a route to put money to charity, but does that really do any good? They're only usually going to be people that are gaining immense wealth themselves from it before that money goes to the people who really need it, or the people that they're publicizing as needing it. So we can really, if we're going to be charitable, then it'd be good. It's better to be really involved, and you can only. I'd say the best way is to use your own energy. Yeah. Okay. Q, who's that? Hi Nick, do you have any thoughts on waxing of the moon? Is part of the moon that we can't see behind some plasma? It's fascinating. I know the moon is fascinating. I've given up trying to say what it does, but according to the Vedics and the Thais, there are other bodies up there, Rahu and what's the other element of? It's basically these nodes that they're referred to as nodes of the moon, and so. It could be something totally different to what we're actually seeing, but I suspect that that shadow is created by other objects that are there, and then of course we get this alignment, and whether it's the moon that creates eclipses or not, or both. Maybe there's an alignment of more than two things. So I'm not sure. I've read a Vedic thing where they say that the reflection, the light on the moon is earth shine. So, but yeah, there's again, I think knowing that you can't know is part of this, is part of the journey, is part of the acceptance. Yeah, it's like, okay, I don't know and I can't know, and this is a clue. It's telling you, okay, you can look up at the sky and you can make all sorts of assumptions, but you never really know. And this is a message to us that, okay, you can't know, so you have to go from there. Yeah, you can't be believing what people tell you. You can't be, yeah. You have to, there's a limit to what you can know unless you really try and find out for yourself. Yeah. So Glenn Souch, hello. Having a bit of a tiff with Briggs up there. First, you have to be able to validate that eternity is doing the same thing over and over. You could be doing something different for eternity. Good point. Yeah. Okay. Absolutely, Del, again, beyond the imaginary curve, maps have nothing to do with the Earth shape. Yeah, I don't know how far away from the bottom of the chat that is, but yeah, absolutely. Again, it's so frustrating. Of course, we've all been through it. I was there. I pored over the maps and tried to do things, and it wasn't until you go through these things, you look at these things, and then eventually it's so simple. It is just that switcheroo. It's just you realize that, okay, the geometry of perspective has been converted into an imaginary curve. How far that extends, we don't even know. If you can't know one, I don't know anyone that's actually been under the North Star or the Southern Cross, directly under it. It's just, you can make all sorts of assumptions and draw all sorts of conclusions, and none of us are going to be any the wiser. Yeah. So yeah. Okay, what's that? Oxbow Spirit pushing the model reification fallacy, still cellular. Okay, all right, yeah, big thing going. Oh wow, this ages away. Sorry, I'm going to go down to the bottom of the chat. Okay, thanks for that, Del. Nice to hear that. Yeah, Truth 12, common sense always works for me. Yeah, isn't it? Yeah. That's funny. And my a lot of the work I do is kind of, it can be high pressure, because what you have is expectations. You have people that have made plans based on concepts and assumptions, but reality is always something very different to what these expectations were. You can make all the best plans in the world and you can be meticulous about it, and yeah, it gets results, but what you do in the process, you create this immense stress on all sorts of people just because you have expectations. And this could be a politician, it could be your parents, it could be a teacher, it could be the GM or whatever. And of course, they've got this whole kind of supply chain and other things that they are worried about. It's all in their head. It's all they're worried about. And all it is you've got this whole chain of people and their concepts and their expectations that are creating this physical pressure and actually bringing about stress. And so I've really got to that point where I of course I still get stressed by that pressure that's put on, but I've also learned to, you'll get it when it's done. If it's not perfect, you're not having it. When it's ready is when it's ready. If you want to give a half-assed finished thing to meet a deadline, then all you're doing is creating more problems further down the road. That's what I've learned from my life experience, is that regardless of what people's demands or expectations are, if you try and meet those expectations with unreasonable deadlines and it's not finished, then it's pointless. You're just yeah. So everyone's just got to take a chill pill. Everyone's just got to go. And it's amazing what that can do. Just a couple of breaths. We forget to do that in the heat of the moment. It's very easy to forget to do that, right? Our whole life can change from a snap decision because we were stressed about it, whereas really if we'd have had that training in us to just go even twice, already something's changed. You've taken away, just by taking a deep breath, you've taken away that focus of the distraction. Yeah. and this is the same with smoking as well. Sometimes I see people they're on their phone and I was the same. Don't get me wrong, but they are and they're having a they're doing a conversation. They're trying to work on smoking away like. And it's just like the body and you what's happening is that person is just very unconscious of everything they're doing, although they might well be focused on the conversation that they're having. There's all this other stuff going on, which is actually the body's way of, really that smoking as well, I found is just really what it is you have this reward thing going on with the mind, or the physical body, as far as, but what it is the body just, what you need is that space to just go. That's what smoking is. Smoking is just, it's a replacement for the, but it has nowhere near the same effect as actually taking that deep breath and just pausing and taking yourself away from a distraction of the concept that's plaguing the thing. So, and it's so funny, that's the thing, you just see, it's laughable, but it's also highly serious, because we see horrible things, atrocities, and have you, and very sad events, because someone did something in the heat of the moment, or was distracted, or but again, these are all learning processes, right? They're all part of the process. So wow, it's been an hour or so. Truth Trial, you think we only have one God? Well, okay, you can assume that, but then again, one God, we find it difficult to empathize or sympathize with this idea that one can be many at the same time, right? How can one God can exist in as an individual entity, and there's probably a necessity for that. Whether there are distinctly different types of personality, there's probably some grains of truth in the whole zodiac thing, and maybe there are 13, not 12. Just as there are 13 months, I would say there is a science there with astrology. Yeah, that's probably a very, and you can predict certain life events or certain qualities about a person based on studying their astrology. So I'd say that is a science that definitely is part of our realm. And again, it comes back to this, it does come down to this ancient understanding and knowledge of how life really is, what we're really doing here, the things that really influence us. The mystery is a wonderful thing to explore. And so that's really what we should be doing. And it's so sad, isn't it, when we see people that are not enjoying that. But again, there's this acceptance of everything being a process. You see people grieving, you see people get disappointed or build up their expectations. And again, we can observe them and we can observe ourselves doing this. We can observe our attachments and our love for someone or our hate for someone, and surely the goal is to kind of not feel that way, to not be drawn along by those influences. Yeah. So yeah, absolutely. Yes, like you said, Del, explore it from within, not sit still conceptualizing it. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, the innocent, I've got this friend who loves to talk about this as the innocent perception, is that you are totally free of any labels and things like that, or because and that's actually really difficult to achieve. It's it's funny, you have to kind of go back to when you're a kid and you might be looking at something and you're just a wonder. You have presence and awareness of what you're looking at, the lines and the shapes and the way the light reflects off it and things like that. But you're not confusing anything with labels. You're not trying to explain why or how. You are just enthralled in the wonderful thing of it. And that's it. And that's the feeling I remember having again when the whole was reintroduced to flat Earth. You know, it's you're looking at the way sunlight reflects. You watch a field of grass as the wind's blowing. You'll see that actually the wind is wavy. It's waves. Yeah. The air is acting the same way as the water does. Things like this. You're watching the way things just disappear into the horizon. You can't really explain it. You can give it labels like diffraction, refraction, and this, but you can't. How are you going to mathematically measure that kind of stuff that's going on at the limits of our vision? You can't. It happens, and it's possible to recreate. Yeah, but yeah. It goes beyond us. It goes beyond our knowledge or understanding at some point. Hello, Al. Good to see you. Yeah, a strange phenomenon that water evaporates constantly. Yeah. I was watching clothes in this cold weather, but you put wet clothes out, and if the sun's hitting them, then steam's coming off, and it's like, yeah, wow, that's going on all the time. Yeah. So, okay. This is fantastic to have all of you here, and thanks for popping in, and great to see there's some conversation going on. I would love to hear more for longer. I think now things are going to be a little bit easier as long as I can to go back and forth. So I would love to meet more of you, and I think there's I don't know. I don't know where I'm supposed to be right now. I am where I am, and things are happening, and it's nice to be finally free to travel. It really is. Yeah. So, all right. With that, I'll bid you farewell and say thank you very much. Maybe the next time we catch up is in Phuket. I don't know. It depends on what I'm doing. But yeah, I don't care about doing experiments on the airplane. It's level all the way. Yeah, I've traveled 8,000 miles and it's level. There's no curve being followed. And to be honest, I can't be bothered with all that kind of stuff anymore. So, all right. Thanks very much, everyone. Yeah, we'll stay in touch and catch up soon. All right. Cheers.